Everybody doing? Let's do our normal startup stuff. Music. There we go. Make sure it's looped. Ooh. All right, how's Friday? So last time we were working on snap points. I think that's what we were working on, right? Yeah, I think so. I did some more work on that over the week. Got some progress there. Did some more work on some rendering stuff. And yeah, made some progress on things I'll show you guys here in a minute. And then on top of that, I was looking at some performance, talk a little bit about that. And I think what we want to do today, we can talk about that a little bit. Let's actually get into things. But yeah, snap points are the big thing that we worked on last time. Let me share my screen. Show you where things are at. So let's go full screen with this. So what we were doing last time, where's our chat here? What is that showing? A little thing hidden here. What is that little thing? Performance in the native backend or the demo? I mean, in the demo, in a way, you know, people are asking like the performance issues, like where does it lie? I mean, it's basically the game itself, like, but I'll show you. So ignore all that stuff. So we were working on some art stuff. Never mind some of the temp textures in here. So a couple things I worked on during this last week. So one thing is we added physics back into the shooting. So now when you shoot, you get physics, which makes sense. Also fixed some bugs. Like last time we were talking about it, like, you know, when you bumped into things, they would like shoot off like crazy. They don't do that now anymore. You know, it has a limit on how fast it'll move. So it keeps it from going crazy when it bumps around. That was mostly just a incorrect usage of the physics engine that was not properly doing limits. I had some code in there to limit those things because you're technically moving at a ridiculous speed, even when it doesn't look like it, but you're moving at a crazy speed. So when you hit it with a kinematic object, it imparts a lot of force. So this is a lot more fun. It'll be an interesting thing once we get some more gameplay in here to have that stuff working. Sorry, restream. I can't make that pin, can I? That's annoying. Wish I could pin that. We'll put that back on later. But yeah, so that's working, and it's working pretty good. I'm happy with the results there. There's some improvements, but you know, it's working pretty good. So that's one thing I worked on over the last week. The other thing I worked on was the snapping. So if I go to the editor mode, actually first I'll show you one other thing. So because the art team was getting back in here to try to fix some art, I had to add some more development modes here. So what I did is I added a option to change my visualization here. So, God damn it, thing. So if I can switch it to diffuse mode, you can see in the bottom corner some text in the corner. So it just shows you the rendered texture, nothing else, no lighting, anything else, which is helpful to do because you can see things like it looks like the art team was naughty and they baked in some lighting into the diffuse textures, which you shouldn't be doing because that makes it double darken. It's not a good thing to do. Your diffuse should just have your diffuse. It should not have lighting baked in. So whenever you see lighting baked in, technically the wall, even this has some, you can see like those gaps and everything kind of match the geometry. And I feel like those things are kind of a little bit baked in lighting. So it shouldn't be doing that. So then here's also your normal view. You can see here from the normal view, those normals are all whack. That's bad. That's causing some issues. The rest are okay, but those are really screwed up. So it kind of helps point out problems. This is why you have these diagnostic views. This is the roughness where white is not rough and black is very rough. So you can see like the rock wall elements are more gray. So that just adds to the lighting effects. Then you can go to metalness, which says how metallic something is. These have none, which seems a little bit weird. There probably should be a little bit even for rock. You can see these boxes are very white, so they're very much metal. And some other elements, you can argue that maybe the paint should be a little bit more metally kind of reflections. So yeah, that's some of them. We added some debug modes in there, and then there's occlusion, which just shows you the occlusion maps that are they're baked into the thing. And here, the occlusion having some darkening, that's fine. But really, the occlusions that are baked in shouldn't have this darkening. Because, yeah, that's fine and everything, but that's a large-scale occlusion. What you want to bake in is your small detail occlusion, things that you can't capture through a dynamic occlusion solution, which we'll put in here later. So the small detail occlusion, which we really want in these maps, if we have them at all, we might decide that the dynamic occlusion is good enough to make it work. But this is just the occlusion map, and then this is just lighting. So no diffuse textures. This is just the lighting, so you can see how the lights affect things. Interestingly enough, and also the emissive elements, that are in here. I think I have the emissive off right now, or not the emissive, but I have the glow off at the moment. So that ringing there is kind of interesting. But yeah, this is just lighting, and these are all in here just to give us some more debug. And this is detail lighting. So if you ever used Unity before, you'll know what that means. Like lighting is just the normal maps, or just the normals, and no normal maps involved. So that's why when you look at this, I mean, you can see like this shininess, and like, what's that? Oh, damn it. You can see this this stuff etched to it, and it's like, well, what is that? Well, that's part of the lighting effect, because those areas have this masking from the metalness and from the occlusion, from the metalness and the roughness, and the occlusion as well. That's what is adding that. But when you go to detail, you can see the walls, because they don't have any details in the normal maps like that, or in the occlusion like that. It looks pretty flat. But when I go to detail lighting, you can see that the normal maps are added in. So the normal maps now affect everything. So that's what the detailed lighting does. It shows you the difference between normal maps and no normal maps, which gives you some interesting stuff. Like you can see how, let's see, you can see how like the wall even changes here, because when you add in the normal maps are kind of tweaking the wall plates a little bit to give them a little bit of an angle, so they're not all moved geometrically. So that's a nice little detail. But yeah, added this mode in so that we can kind of get a better idea of how things work. Also added this little, you can now adjust the speed of the camera in the editor, because there's a little slider up here, to kind of adjust this a little bit, so it's a little bit easier to work around this stuff, which is important to the next step. So, in all these things. So now with the snapping stuff we worked on last time, it's kind of been advanced. So I'm going to go so I can see everything. So when you see here, you can grab this guy and drag it out, and I fixed the bugs regarding these things, this big object moving. It was mostly it was actually a UI issue. This UI window here was screwing things up and slowing everything down. So I'm going to move this guy out here, and then I'm going to build some stuff. So before you had to build, you have to carefully place stuff. Now, with these snap points, you grab the snap point, drag it to there, and let go, and it's snapped. It's on that point. If I drag it to the other side, it'll snap the other way. Drag it over here, it snaps that way. Drag it over here, it snaps this way. So that's really nice. It allows you to kind of just grab pieces and assemble. If I want to go, this part has a missing snap point over here, which is kind of annoying because it's kind of a cool part. But with this, you can basically do things like select this, Control-T to duplicate, grab that snap point, grab it over there. This is the kind of building that we wanted to do, is this kind of fast building that allows us to put together elements quickly. That's not the right snap point for that. So this kind of thing that allows you to quickly build things, and that's what our goal was to make it easier to build things, because the grid, just snapping on the grid wasn't good enough to make this work. So yeah, that's the idea, is snap points. And we have some more work to do there. Like, in theory, you know, yes, you can snap this thing. Like, it snaps here. What it does is it takes the two orientations and reverses them to each other. So one points to the other one, but technically there's two different orientations potentially it could do here. It could do it this way, but it could also do it upside down. So I'm debating whether I want to have something to be able to tab through the different orientations or something like that. But, you know, that's minor at this point. I just mostly wanted to get something basic that worked well. Now this allows us to do very easy building, which is nice. Oh, there's not a point on that one. Yeah, that part's annoying. Hate that guy. That's another little annoyance I noticed. Like, it hides the snap point. We need to make those snap points on top because they're more useful that way. And I do it like this with the snap points not all being on, because if not, the scene would be chaos if every single snap point was always on. And I could do some more niceties, like highlighting the one that's snapped to so it's more obvious and things like that. Maybe keeping the gizmo on the object so you can tell which orientation it went into. Little details. But hey, Aristotle. But those little details are kind of nice. Anyways, so snap points was another thing that we worked on, as well as just we're working on fixing some material issues and things like that. Looking at performance, and this is still a debug build. See, the debug build's like 300 frames per second, which is a lot better than it was earlier, you know, but still, it's not where I want it to be. I really want this to be thousands of frames per second. And it, in theory, it should be. I mean, even though we're using some pretty high-end, fairly high-end assets, you know, without any kind of LOD or anything, it's working pretty good. The thing that we had trouble with was that there were some lights that were kind of stray lights that were causing lots of lighting overhead across the entire scene, and that was causing things to dip down pretty low. You can see here, like, we're already at a pretty low frame rate there, 160, 170, depending on where we're looking. And it is the lighting, and it is that we're kind of doing more work than we need to. If I put on the cluster view, wherever that was, nope, not there. Nope. Where's that? I keep losing my views, forgetting where I put things. I could swear it's right here. That's the wrong one. Come on, there we go. Too many options. Nope, not shift. Not shift. Damn it. Just on a letter. Nope, not shift. Again, hitting shift is not going to help me. Sometimes think this thing doesn't. Damn it. Where did that view go? I'm very annoyed that it didn't come up. I've like hit every key on the keyboard. Okay, that's very annoying. Let me just get out of this real quick and find it. Let's go to the shadows first, I guess. Graphics, Shadow Atlas. There's a little debug section down here somewhere. Control F1. Why isn't that working? That's interesting. That is interesting. Very annoying when things like that don't work. That's what the problem is. It's never getting here for some reason. That's never getting called. Huh. Interesting. Why aren't you being called? That's interesting that that's never being called. It used to be called. Saw somebody commented. I'll jump on that in a second. Just want to figure out what the frick is going on here. Ah, that's where I screwed up. Stop helping me, Visual Studio. I knew I had my keys right. Hey, look, all that stuff's there. It's drawing it in a weird place, but whatever. So it's the frame rate issue is coming from this. So the fact that it's got 14 lights, there are 8 shadowed lights, and it's updating 4 out of 24 every frame, and not only updating all 4, it's updating all 6 faces of it, every frame, and it's a lot of draws, a lot of geometry, and those lights, some of them are kind of big. Where is it? You can see here that some of them are kind of big and cover a big area. So all those things combined are hurting us. So it really is a game about culling, about trying to cull as much as you can so that you don't have as much that you have to do. And that's something that we haven't gotten into yet. So that's the next thing, is to start culling better in order to improve our performance here. And again, this is the debug build. It's faster even in release. Not a ton faster, but it is faster. And I did fix a bunch of little optimization issues in there. But I do need to improve the just how I handle lights and occlusion. Like, it totally could be only updating one face of a shadow map a frame instead of trying to update all of them all the time. It doesn't have to. I mean, it does do some don't update ones that are static, but it's kind of like the entire light. It's not doing it on a per face basis. It just says, well, if nothing is moved in this entire light, then don't update it. So it kind of keeps it in the static list. It has a dynamic list, and it does the dynamic list only when things move within them or they mark dynamic, and it updates them dynamically. That's why it's only updating 4, is that right now a moving object or a movable object is within the range of 4 shadowed lights. And those include like these physics objects and stuff like that. It's not that they're moving, it's that it's a movable, and that's a whole other, issue. But yeah, that's basically the biggest issue there, is that it also doesn't help that there is no occlusion in the system. Like, we're rendering all that stuff that's way out there, all this stuff that's behind this wireframe, behind here, all that stuff is being rendered even though I'm inside of here. And that's something that we'll have to deal with eventually as well. What I'd like to do is a low, a basic, low quality software render that does occlusion for us and can do it in real time in parallel as the scene is being updated. Using the pipeline to basically build some basic occlusion, basically an occlusion voxel so that you can basically do a very low resolution render and decide on a conservative basis, is this thing completely occluded or not. Other games have done similar things, and it shouldn't be too hard to pull something together like that. Running it in software is mostly just because you don't want to wait for the loop back on the GPU, and it's easier at a low resolution quality. It's pretty easy to run without having anything getting in the way. So yeah, it's mostly just that. But yeah, so performance is another thing I looked into because of this. So today, let's go to see. We have some questions, I think. I'm blocking them with this full screen view. Let's talk a little bit. So I'm not sure how you define rotation, but if yaw pitch roll is worth considering, every rotation has two possible definitions for snapping, like angles. Yeah, I mean, I'm using yaw pitch roll as the kind of what you type in, and I have had some problems with it, for that reason. And it's just about getting things consistent, on how you approach things. I mean, yaw pitch roll makes sense for someone to visualize in their head how things are working, but mathematically, it's not a good system to define it. That's why quaternions exist. So yeah, I'm going to spend some more time kind of making it more consistent because it's currently kind of broken the way that it is. So let's talk about what we wanted to do next. So one of the things that I wanted to do next and try and attempt at here today is trying to add some amount of, there's two elements to it. And actually we can have a couple different ways we can go about it. So one is, I think we want to add a way to be able to attach one entity to another. So things like being able to take two meshes and make one a child element of the other one, and it's attached so that they basically move together when they're being moved. That allows you to attach lights to a physics entity or anything else. And I think I want to do that maybe first, because that's kind of a core element, is being able to do that. Secondarily, I'd like to talk about adding prefabs, where you could basically predefine a complex set of entities and then be able to instance that into the scene. And if you update the prefab, all those instances get updated. So those are the two elements that I want to try to add. But I'm going to start by adding just like some parenting functionality, so we can parent one item to another. And we have a very basic entity class. And that's where we're going to start. So the entity is the thing that is everything in the scene. We're keeping this very simple. Yeah, there's a million different ways you could potentially do this stuff. But we're keeping to just a simple entity structure. We're not doing anything fancier than that. And if we're going to have some sort of hierarchy, it's going to come from the entity structure than anything else. So really what I want to be able to do here is I don't necessarily want to, I guess, nest it, in the scene. Like I don't want to have like a scene that is like, well, there's an entity and child entities, and we're not doing any of that. All we're doing is we're going to associate, have a entity have a parent entity that is just for the purposes of the transform. It uses it to work it relational to it or be attached to it. It's not, we're not actually going to change how our scene is stored, our scene, because that starts to get into just nonsense that, we don't really need. Yeah, there's some benefits for culling and things like that, but I'm not going to worry about that yet. And we want to do that in a different way anyways. So yeah, we just have a list of entities, a list of drawables, updatables, lights. Like this is what the scene ends up being. The entity lists the low-level list, and it serializes it, deserializes it. And I don't think we ever talked about it, but the scene is defined in a very simple format. The scene is a very simple format, an XML list of elements, right? Like there's an entity, there's an entity, there's an entity. These are just all entities. And I think we would still want to define them this way, but we want to be able to say like, hey, this entity is parented, its transform is parented to this other one. So that's where we want to be. To do that, obviously, we need to do a little bit more here. Like, let's just start without getting to the disk access. We want to just be able to make it work in scene, you know, or the storage. We want to make it work in scene. Obviously, for the storage, if we want it to work, either it has to, you know, entity having a reference to scene. I don't think, does the entity have a reference to scene? I don't think it does. It doesn't. I mean, I don't think ours does. Could it? Yeah, it could have a reference to the scene. I guess it does have a scene. Yeah. So what's the benefit? I don't know. It uses it for different things, I guess, for events. I think that's where we use it at the moment. It doesn't really need it. I think some child entities might use it for some reason. It's just there. It's not a big deal. So yeah, so how are we going to define this? I think how we want to define this is, I think what we want to do is we want to have, I mean, we don't want to get things too complicated here. I think maybe the simplest way to do it is just to say, here's a parent entity, and then let it work that way. There's no reason to overcomplicate it. Yes, there's a way to do it that is super optimized for every, you know, so I can do a data first transform on transforms and all that stuff. I'm not worried about that. We're not building this so that we can build a 10,000, you know, room dungeon or something like that. We just want something to work in a pretty straightforward game. We can optimize later on those things. So I think, yeah, the simplest thing is going to be to have a man, my typing is horrible today. So we're going to go with that. And basically, we need to, and this is something where we're going to get into other problems after this, and I know that we are. We just have to start somewhere. So this is supposed to always be a world space transform. And we decompose the transform into this, and then we attach it. But this is where we run into some problems. Anything that sets the transform is going to have to be very aware that there's a parent. I mean, currently we don't have any concept of a local transform versus a world space transform. This is setting it like it's a world space transform. So we might run into some trouble there. We're just going to take one step at a time and work it out as we go. So to make this work, we're going to have to apply the parent transform to this. I don't think we run it, right? No. Keep it simple. I think it has to be parents. Oh. And this is where we would want to maybe potentially save two different transforms, a local transform and a world space transform. And we could, you know, we could continue to consider this a local space transform if we wanted to. Consider the other a world space. But I think fixing the cases of needing a local space transform is going to be easier than fixing the cases of needing a world space transform. So everything assumes it's world space at the moment. So let's stick with this. We're not going to worry about the parent moving yet. I just want to get some basic functionality in place and then work our way forward from there. There's also, at this point, there's no registration where it's like the parent, all the parent elements need to know where the child elements are, so we can force them to update their transforms or anything like that. I mean, we do need something of that nature. I mean, you might need a local space transform depending on how things are working. Like if I'm moving like let's say the case of, and I guess there's an easy way to handle it potentially, but you know, in the editor, you're moving an object that's parented to something else. You're moving it around in world space. You let go of it. We need to apply the transform. We need to, you know, remove the parent's world space transform from it, and we can do that mathematically. But sometimes it's convenient just to have it around. So we'll see. I mean, I just want to take it one step at a time and see. But it looks like we are going to have some way of, yeah, at some point the parent entity is going to have to be able to tell us when it's been dirtied, you know. And it could be something as simple as, and this is where things can get slow, you know, but things like, so this gets called when transforms dirty, but it could also be done transforms dirty. I mean, it could be more complex. It could be like, what's a good way to do this? How often does this get called? I guess it's here. So you could do something more like that's a one level of indirection, not the right thing, but transforming that from that into a getter that then recurses. I mean, that starts to get messy, but you could do it that way. You know, it means that you're hopping up a bunch of objects to find things, as long as you don't have tons of moving objects that all have deep hierarchies. You could live with this. Kind of dirty, but it works. Yeah, calculating the world transform parent chain also means the child can kind of maintain it, do its own work, but you know, we'll just see. We'll take it one step at a time. I prefer keeping things simple than trying to over-engineer everything from the beginning. Now this is going to have to work differently, right? So this decompose is going to have to, you know, I guess what it should do is it should be doing something like this. It's going to have to be, I think it's something like this, and then we have to do I think that'll do it. There might be like lots of freaking concerns of doing this, but this might actually work. Maybe. I don't know, if I forget if it's parent times value or value times parent. I think maybe it's that. Actually, it's probably the reverse of the other. I forget. We'll figure it out when we get there. But that should undo the parent transform and put it back in a, you know, relative, I guess. Well, but I mean, we don't want it to do that, actually, huh? Yeah, actually, we don't want it to do that, right? Because, no, yeah, we do want it to do that. But we do need this to be relative, because the next time it multiplies it against the parent, it needs to come back to this original value. So it does need to do this. And this is just updating the low-level values that build up the transform. Can you name some of those concerns? You have to remind me what the concerns, which concerns you mean, because there's a delay. Whenever you guys type, it seems for some reason I don't get the text for a little while. So all right. So with that, let's add a way to add the parent in, or the let's add a simple setter getter, or just and we're not going to make it an editable yet. We're going to worry about first making it work. We're just going to do that. Simple enough. And then what I want to do, I think, as a first test is try to attach a light to a physics object. That would be, or actually to a static object. Well, no, physics object. That should be perfectly fine. So what I want to do, so this should make it work, I think. What I need to do is have a way to do it, and I'm going to do that through the editor. I think what I'm going to just do is very simple, is trying to think of like how it should work. Dark Abacus 247 says, after watching this, I feel like mine is shit. Nah, don't worry about that. I mean, your engine, the only service your engine is for is to serve your game. As long as it serves your game, that's all that matters. And that's what I'm trying to do, just serve what we need in the game and what we want to do to build here. That logic and parent does not equal null check. It's just to make sure that, what we're doing here is like, so you have two, since the transform, when we update the transform, it takes, the local transform, the position, rotation, scale, and it makes this transform out of it. And then it says, if I have a parent, then transform this transform by the parent for returning it. Then that's the transform that I return. It means that the position is let's say it's just talk about position, let's ignore rotation. It's the same for all of it. So you take the position, and the position of your child is 10 units away from the origin. If you parent it to a parent whose position is another 10 units away from the origin, then your world space transform should actually be 20 units away, because it's the parent's offset plus yours, right? This multiply is basically doing that. It's saying transform this by this, and that includes rotations and scales. So we're doing this to get a world transform back whenever the transform updates. So when we're assigning a transform back, knowing that this is being passed in a world transform, and let's just define it. Because it is the world transform of the entity. If we have a parent and we're assigning a world transform, we have to reverse, the parent's influence from it. So by removing the parent's influence, by multiplying it by the inverse of the parent's transform, we should just get the offset part of it, right? Whatever's left is the offset. So it's basically making it relative again. Like, so again, that same example, you have a parent that's 10 units away from the origin, and a child who, let's say, just to make it clearer, I guess, is 5 units away from the parent. If you now want to move it from 5 units away to the parent to 2 units away from the parent, but it's coming in as a world position, it's going to actually come in as 12 units away. And it's like, well, if you just assign 12 to the position, it's then going to move it further away. So you have to remove the parent's transform first. So you remove the parent's 10, you're left with the 2. That's what it's storing. So this is what this invert is doing, is removing the parent's transform influence. So yeah, that's basically it. So what I want to do here is I'm thinking about like how we'd want to attach things, but I don't want to overthink it for right now. Let's keep it simple, I guess. Let's run it real quick, and then running it. I like running things every once in a while to make sure I didn't break anything. So nothing should break here. It should all work the same as it did before. So everything's working like it did before. There's nothing weird or anything like that. So all this is working. So what I want to do next is, so the idea is like in the editor when you're here, let's say we're here in the editor and we have this light here, we duplicate it and we copy it over here. Can't see it because you can't really see a light because it's moving around small. Ugh. Let me slow down my movement. So we have this light here. Really should start rendering the light in a way that makes it easier to see, to visualize. So we have this light here. Let's say we wanted to attach it to this box, so it travels with this box. So the question is like, how would we want to do that? You know, what would we want the UI to look like for doing that? And that's what I'm thinking about. I mean, it could be as simple as like if you hold down Shift and click on the light, that it's in a mode where you can, when you drag it on this icon and let go, it anchors it. You know, it's not going to move it. You know, it's just going to, you're just anchoring it to things. That feels like a nice idea, right? You select it, you hit Shift. Yeah, Shift seems like an okay thing, maybe. I mean, what do we use? I guess for the anchor points, we didn't do anything special. We need something here to anchor. You know, we can say Alt is anchor for all we, you know, hold Alt. You know, if you select it, hit Alt, then you're in anchor mode, and you can then anchor this to something else. That might be a nice bit of functionality potentially. Or it's like, maybe it's an alt click. Yeah, something like that maybe. And I could just do it really quick in code and not... like the other way to do it is to like multi-select, right? You select the parent and then you select the child and then you hit like Control A to anchor them together or something like that. You know, that could be another way of doing it. And it's based on the order, you know, the parent, child, anchor, it works. But it seems like it's, you know, and that's a whole other thing, right? Like which one do you drag to do that? So let's do the control option right now because that makes it work. And then I still need a way to unanchor. Luckily, since these things are still flat in the hierarchy, the whole scene still works. So I can also select an object that is anchored and maybe do it a second time to unanchor itself potentially. Yeah, let's just do the control path because that's the easiest thing. Select two items, I hit Control A, it anchors it. You know, Control A is not used for anything at the moment. So that makes sense, or Alt A maybe. So let's just do that. Process input. Let's add another thing here. I try to do this all through edit and continue. Sorry, I went full screen again, lost my chat. Should also probably all just be in like I have a modifier thing here. Yeah, I had it in here. I had like key than a key modifier. And I forgot, is press just up and down or is it just held? Oh no, it is definitely held. I could actually do this. Hey, that's nice. We don't have to do this. So if we're not in snap point mode, we're just in regular mode. This tells it if the gizmo is doing some operation. Otherwise, this is left button press and button last press. It's not pressed on left click. So that's clicky detection. Pick is not empty. Set transform. Is that for moving? I think that's for moving, yeah. Wait, no. Not sure what this case is. Let's go look real quick. Didn't change anything, but... Oh, is it not running? There it is. Oh no, what did I do? Sometimes that didn't continue gets confused. Damn it. It's annoying. Just wanted to see what this mode was there. Pretty sure that's, you just have something selected and things happening. I just want to be sure where I'm putting my code. Makes sense. We'll have something parented here in a second, and we start dealing with all the fallout. Okay, so just make sure I know what. This is the hard thing about modes, is just not knowing when you're in different cases. Okay, so that's definitely a left click. If it's not empty, set transform. Okay, so that's just updating the thing. Is that doing that continuously? I don't know if that's actually necessary. I don't know if that actually does anything. Oh, interesting. What happened there? I think that does do something. Yeah, that's what it's doing. It's just resetting the transform. I get it now. It was doing something. So it's just there to serve, like, for this sort of junk. It probably doesn't even work right for like cases like this. I mean, it might visually look right, but it might not actually be working. So yeah, it's a little suspicious. All right, so back to what we're doing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna duplicate this guy. Nope, light, duplicate. We could be visualizing this stuff so much better. So I want to keep that attached to this, so I wouldn't be able to do this, and then hit, Control A or something. So what we'll do is if input key pressed, always player 0. It's stupid. Let's say A for anchor, or yeah, let's do that. Modifier key is Alt. I think you can specify either one, it doesn't care. What does it not like about this? God damn it, it's confused about which one to use. Why is WinForms in here? Is that what it's doing? Or is it gum? Might be gum stuff. Yeah. I'll just do it the other way. And the gizmo, the undo could handle this on its own. Oh, Ascent modifier key. Oh, I had it backwards. That's why. Duh. That's how I did it. Duh. It's been a while since I messed with this, so if that's pressed, and let's say so only if 2 are picked and it's this, then I'll do this work, and I'm just going to hack it here. Very hacky. Should totally work. Nope. I already know what's the first thing that's going to happen. Is it's going to take off. I think this is where we need to fix this. When we set the parent, we need to update the child's transform. Yeah, what we need to do is we do that. The transform is dirty. We need to then immediately set the transform. So yeah, for I know. Yeah, what we want is we want to get our transform, set the parent on here, and then we want to do that will dirty it as well. What we're doing here is we're getting our current transform, setting the parent, which is going to set the parent there. Then we set transform. It's going to call this and say, oh, the transforms, it's going to get, if the parent's not null, it's then going to get the inverse of the parent, multiply the incoming transform from that to make it relative, and put it back. So it should stay in the same spot, but make it relative. So I think that's what it needs to do, and that should fix this. So let's see what happens here. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting. We don't have any like right-click menus or anything like that, so this is easy enough to make it work. Let's grab this guy, duplicate him, bring him this way, just so that it's relatively flow switch itself and we can see easily. Okay, what's wrong? Always can never tell how far things are away from each other. All right, so we're going to grab this one, grab that one, and we're going to hit Control A, or wait, Alt A. There we go. It's the first one, the parent, that's the physics entity. The child is this. The light is going to, well, it just did it. Let's see what happens. Yay, problems. All right. What did it not like? So on update transform. Oh, interesting. I think it's getting into a transform dirty, parent does not equal null. Parent transforms dirty. Update transform. So the light goes to update transform. It says, okay, light, go to call your base and update your transform. It gets its transform. Parent's not null, so get the parent transform. Wait, what? It transformed to itself. That's interesting. How did that happen? Did I do it wrong? I'm sure I did it wrong. Oh yeah, look at that. That's stupid. That's very stupid. So here's how we unscrew ourselves here. I'm going to set this to null. I think I can do that. Stack Overflow. That's interesting. Oh, it repeated a ton of times. Okay, so yeah, it's gonna kill me. Let's just fix it. I thought I could fix it quickly, or fix it in editor, but no, not gonna work. So that'll do it. We'll try again. Hopefully this time doing it correctly. One thing. There we go. So parent, child, control A. I think it did it. Or did it? What'd it do? Looks like maybe the light went out into outer space. Like over here, no. Cannot tell what happened. Let's see if we can figure it out. See anything else move when we move this? If my transform is kind of wonky, it would have done something weird. All right, let's go find a light that has a parent. Let's see, actually. Ha, there is a light that updated. Oh, this is not it. It is one that has a physics entity. Oh, interesting. It's a shadowed light too. So just by this, translation -1, parent is that. That do it? 42. Oh no, but it is -1 there. Yeah, duh. Maybe. I'm having a hard time telling if it did it or not. It's definitely there, but I think that it's not, light isn't rendering right or something. let's see. And I don't think I see its gizmo rendered. Its gizmo should be using its, I mean, the gizmo could be using the position, and then it's at 0, 0 or something. I would expect to see it. Now let's go to the editor and look at its, it goes to get the icon for something here. Nope, not tooltips. Okay, show icons. $47 of them. I don't know which one this one would be that has a parent. Looking for the one that has a parent. Let's just do that. No, there's the one that has the parent. No. Wait, no, that's fine. Aha, there we go. It's just using the entity position and not the transform. That's why it's not getting the right thing for that. That's why it's not rendering it in the right place. Icon should come back now, I think. Yep, there's our icon. The light isn't working, but the icon is, and I think that is not working because Tom, this song is pretty great, but I'm getting Stockholm Syndrome. Can we add a track next time around? Yeah, maybe. Pick another one from the same artist, and we can consider it. Okay, so this is working, and it looks like I can move the child transform, and it's working. Look at that, it's attached. The light isn't working, but we're going to fix that next. I'm pretty sure that's the lighting system's problem. It does not, it's probably just taking the position and not taking the transform's position. Let's go fix that so that this actually works. If it then visually works, then we're in business. Oh wait, it is visually working. It's just too far away. No. It's only visually working when I was doing this, when it's in movement. Interesting. Wonder why. That's interesting. Okay, we'll see. Probably because it's using position. Hasing J9E. Hello, big man. Okay. Can I ask you something? Yes, you can ask something. I may not answer it, but it's perfectly fine for you to ask. I forgot to close my Discord. Goodbye, Discord. There we go. Stop pinging me. All right, so I'm pretty sure the next problem here is in the lights. It's in the clustering of the lights, I guarantee you. It's coming through here and getting the lights position and not getting the lights transform, which is what it needs. Yep, light position. So we need to get all these light positions. Light bounds might be doing the same thing. Yeah, it's just using the position. So that has to be fixed. That will fix that. So it was being cold because it was in the right place. And then all these light positions got to be fixed. needs to be the world space position of the light, so that'll fix that. And this is the kind of thing I expected, is more like just cleanup of places where I was getting lazy and just using the position and not going through the transform, which is what you really should be doing. So that's the shadows, though. Where were we in the light code, light cluster code? Yeah, because it had a bunch of the same problem. Oh. Did I just do the wrong thing on the other one? Yeah, I did. And, you know, it is a question of, like, should light position be returning the world space position? Or the translated position or not? Is it local space? Maybe it should be local, maybe it should be world space, and that would be a better fix. Yeah, maybe. No, we're already kind of defining it as local space. So let's keep it that way. I think that's the better thing to do. I mean, we're going to have problems when we go to serialize the thing, because remember, we're looking at the data format for the level. It stores it by position, you know, but we can potentially change what this, you know, how this works, potentially. We'll have to see. When we get to saving, we'll have to work that out. I want to get this to work first, and we'll go from there. Yeah, I don't know. We might have to come back and revisit this. Yeah, but let's see what happens. This should make it work. Hey, look at the lights working now. I can move this guy and it works when it moves. Not only that, this guy's shadowed. It probably shouldn't be. Let's take him out of the shadow, because it's going to be expensive to... Oh, what happened here? What happened? Is he no longer attached? Must be attached still. That's interesting. Come on, thing. Got attached somehow. Yeah. No, parent's still there. It's doing some weird stuff. I wonder if it's... Let's just do this first before we go crazy here. Yeah, I thought so. Is it still here? Yeah, the light's still there. It's not moving with the object anymore. It's so weird because it was working like that just a little while ago. Right, let's see if I can figure out why. go to physics entity. Can't stop, won't stop, pretty chill. Okay, I'll try to remember that. That's true. You're right about that. So Scribbinette says it should just be a case of storing the parent ID in addition to the existing local position. The world transform will get recalculated the same way. Say, correct. No, that's the right answer. Yeah, I store a local position here, and that's fine as long as I'm storing the entity position here. Ideally, before this, again, if we're executing these properties in a sequence, if they're loading them up and just assigning properties, we've never had like, oh, this property depends on that property yet. But that'll be the case. Like this position will work differently if the entity is already attached or not. So that'll be an important thing to work out once we get to serialization, is that transform data kind of have a dependency on each other. And that has to be assigned first. Might be something that we have to just do, set a priority on loading those. Anyways, let's get back to this. But you're right that will totally do it, and I don't have to worry about that. The position can continue to be a local position instead of having anything more complicated. So okay, so yeah, so we want to do is I want to go to physics object, physics entity, and I want to look at its transform on transform updated because I think it has one. Yep. When its transform updates, let's see why it is not setting a pose. Oh, I know why. I know why it's happening. Because the transform is updating based it's being cleared, and the children have not been updated. And that's the problem. Like this is where just looking to say, well, if the parent's transform changes, then it works. But they're changing in isolation, and then it's immediately updating itself, fixing its flipping this flag. Yeah, it could be that we want to attach IDs in reverse kind of thing or something like that. Or after, it could just, it's a very the parent ID is really the only one that has this kind of definition, and we might just hold that one back and only assign it after everything else has been assigned, or make sure it's assigned first than everything else. There's some different ways to approach it. So yeah, this is the problem here. The transform dirty, it depends on how things are being updated, if this will work or not. So I really just need to, I hate doing it, but I need to notify all children that it's been dirtied somehow. Also transform dirty could work differently than it does. This sort of kind of works like in the ID method, like transform dirty is a flag, it's a bool, but it doesn't have to be. It's actually an integer under the hood. I could be storing it as an integer and flagging it with a sequential identifier, and the child can say, well, my identifier has to be greater than it, and like do a trick like that essentially, so it's not just a singular flag. So I could do something along those lines potentially. I just hate the idea of, I just really hate the idea of these entities like having, like all being nested and like having a list of children. I just don't like that. We already have a one-way list of parent. Yeah. Man, I really hate that. I mean, why this is happening, I think, and it's affecting us now, and it wasn't earlier, is just the order of the items, the order that they're being updated is causing the problem. easy way to fix this. And there just really isn't an easy way to fix it, unfortunately. I mean, I like the flag idea. I'm just gonna have to fix it that way, but in a better way than this. So I'm gonna have to stop. So if I'm gonna fix it that way, transform dirty is an index. You know, we need to keep a see, what's the right way to do this? If the state is to make it dirty, I need to mark it something that isn't the state, so it forces it to update to the state. And is that gonna work? I think it'll work. So I don't want it to update like every single transform in the system. Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna work. Man, I really want this to work one way. I mean, I could do the lazy thing for right now, just temporarily to make it work. But I really hate that. I think I should be able to do it in a better way. I just don't like the idea of the entity or a parent having a list of all its child entities. I just hate that structure, but whatever. Yeah, whatever. We'll live with it for now. Just to make it work, we can optimize later. Let's start it with an actual allocation. Ugh, so gross. I hate it. I'm sure I'm missing the obvious better way that this can be. Gross. So gross. And what has to happen here is whenever a parent updates the transform, it has to tell all the children that they're dirty too, by the way. That still has to be there. Gross. Don't love it. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking, but I don't know. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing for bananas. You know, you store, I guess you could store two states like that, I guess, in a way. But I want to do it like with a singular state ID, and maybe there's not an easy way to do that. I have to think a little harder. I'd love to kill this. I want this to work right now, so that's the easy way to make it work right now. Yeah, I guess that's true. If it kept two states, its own state identifier and its parent state identifier, and it'll know parent state identifier change, then that mean that I need to update mine. That might be the cleaner way to do it. Let's see if this works, then we can maybe jump back and see about doing it the other way. Let's see when we get there. Always in the wrong place. Oh, there are tricks for making these things be easier to visualize. I need to spend some time to do that. Okay, so that's there. We're going to parent this guy again. Shift that, Control A. That sets the child transform dirty. That should do it. Okay, that's working. Last time I went here and I unchecked scale that, and then it broke. Hey, look at that, it did it again. There's something about it being shadowed that's causing it to update the transform that isn't otherwise. That's interesting. No, let's just see that it actually fucking works first of all. The light immediately turns off. It's not moving in that case. Yep. Just floating there. Still here, so there's still something wrong. Damn it, I thought this would be the fast part. So why is it when it's not shadowed that it stops following the parent? I did do that right? Oh, duh, parented to itself. If I do this a second time, it'll work. Parent does not equal null. Need to remove itself from the being parent. Can I do that from here? Look at that. That totally worked. There we go. That'll do it. So now it should update properly. I have no icon now, which is interesting. Oh, it's because, yeah, I don't know why that happened. Okay, so that's updating. I think my relative transform was wrong for the other. Okay, so now it should actually fucking work. Hey, look at that, it moves, but the rotation is wrong. Okay, it's getting there. Not quite right, but it's getting there. So I wanted more than anything else, something dynamic. All right, let's figure out our transforms, why they're screwed up. We come back here. I'll rotate this guy. Does not move. He should. Why didn't he move? Like rotation isn't affecting him. I assume that is affecting him. Yes. rotation is not. Let's go here. I mean, probably the simple thing is my transforms backwards. Yep, that's probably what it was. Yep, just my transforms backwards. So with that fixed, things should still work here. Oh, didn't like that. Because I think that transform is backwards too. Now it's starting to do weird things. Well, no, it's because it's back there. Interesting that the undo redo still works. Come on, thing. Okay. Come on, thing. Do me a favor. Just work a little bit for me. I might have to do right now. Just want to see that when I bump it, that it now moves with it appropriately. Yep, looks like it's rotating along with it the right way. Let's make it more apparent. Changing the radius to something a little bit better. Changing the intensity to something better. Leave the shadow on it so that it's more interesting. So there we go. Better. Doing that part at least. Right, so we've got some dynamic parenting happening here. Not too bad. It's functional. I hate how over bright the light is. I need to look into how the energy is being done. See how like just some movement makes things feel more alive. Especially lighting movement. In fact, the lighting doesn't change a lot of times. It really makes everything feel dead. All right, so let's see. Scrivenes. Shouldn't it be transform equals local transform transform? Yeah, that's what I thought too. Wasn't that what I had before? Oh no, yeah, it is local transform transform. Yeah, so that's the right thing. And that means that my other case here is probably incorrect. That's why when I'm in editor mode and I come in here and move this guy, it doesn't work right. Yeah, I could just do this. I think that's going to be more correct. Yep. Still something a little weird going on when I select it, but it's doing the right thing now as far as the rest. I think that'll make the whole thing generate a... I do this. And the light's perfectly centered inside the thing. So it's like it is emitting the light from itself. Some backwards triangles there somewhere that is causing that to do that. That's what I thought. It's not smart enough to know how to duplicate the thing with parent. Obviously, I can't select the other one from there. Here it is. It's not smart enough to duplicate the parent object and the child together because it doesn't have any idea of that hierarchy. But that's kind of what you want it to do. Yeah, so it is working though. Kind of cool. So that should work with other objects too, not just this. Like I could, in theory, take like this, right? That light there, and this object. And do the same thing. When I attach, it shouldn't move this time, I think. So it shouldn't move, but it should now move together. Which is the point of that, is that we can now attach objects to each other so that we can get, you know, what we want out of this, which is this stuff to can do the same thing here. Select this guy, select that guy, attach. So now we can move things together because we can attach them to it. And, you know, if we take advantage of things like this, we can do things like cull all those things because they're parented to each other. If the parent isn't visible, then it's possible that the others aren't visible. Now, to do that right, you have to kind of have a bounds that covers all of it and things like that. But that's really not my high priority on this. I mostly just wanted to make it easier to work with stuff and parent things so that they move together. Makes it a little bit more convenient for editing. You know, the snap points and all this stuff should work with it as well. So if I take the snap point stuff, that should work. And if I attach it somewhere else, it should go with it. So no matter where I move it, like it all moves together. You know, and if I was smart about the things like duplication, like selecting this guy and duplicating it duplicates his children. This is where the child list of entities is handy because they can then, you know, automatically duplicate the children because it has them. It says, okay, we'll duplicate these two when you're there. Which could be nice. I think that's what's expected, is if something's parented to something, you duplicate the parent, the children get duplicated with it. It can be pretty easy to do with how we have this set up now. Yeah, progress. I think like this, these top and bottom points are not oriented right. But yeah, so we made some progress here and got this to work. Scales, yeah. That is true. So, and there's even the weirder one, right? Like connecting two physics objects. That'll start doing some really weird shit. But yeah, if I take like, if I create a static mesh here, I'm just gonna turn off the lighting right now because it'll be easier to see. And static mesh, I'm just gonna do that crate. It did not like that. Damn it, I had that bug earlier. Should have fixed it. Should have had fixed that. Let's scales is a good thing to check. Damn it. You don't want to have to deal with this. This is a weird bug within this thing. I'm going to just say I'm going to ignore you. I didn't figure it'd let me do that. What the fuck? No, no using system in here. I was having a bug there where it was cleaning something else. Some Earth says, is this a custom game engine made in MonoGame? Yes, it is. It was based on the old ship game demo, and we've expanded it greatly. Get something with lighting and physics and all kinds of fun stuff. Right, so back to this. Hopefully this will handle whatever that problem is in that thing. So I'm going to create that crate. So there's that crate. I'm going to duplicate it, make a second one. I guess I will scale this one. Let's first not scale anything. Let's just attach them. So I'm going to attach this one as the parent, that one. I'm going to attach those two. So now they're attached. They should move together and everything. Yep. So now I'm going to change the parent scale to like that. Hey, look at that. They both scaled. So that makes sense. If I move this guy, some weird things happening there. I need to figure out what's happening in that case. The scale did work. If I rotate this guy, I mean, hard to say if the scale should be working that way or not. Like, I guess that's the right way to do it, the way that they're parented. And if I change this guy's scale to 2, and then change this guy's scale to 2 as well. Yeah. It seems like it's doing what it should do. Yeah, I think that's working. Is this open source? Can you access it? It is sort of, kinda. Right now, only people that are sponsors of MonoGame at, I guess even in the base level, right? Like if you go to GitHub and you go to MonoGame, go to sponsor, and you come in here, you know, current sponsors you can see here. If you sponsor, you know, sponsor badge, name listed donations, it's $4 a month level, Sprite batch level, early access selected private repos, demos, and special projects, and more. And that includes this demo. So yeah, that's how you get access to it. So this is working, so that's good. If I rotate this guy. Yep, looks like that's working. Speaking of that, I really need to make a rotation gizmo. I'm getting fed up of typing shit in here. So all this works, and let's see if all our undo redo works. Yep, all the undo redo works for the most part, looks like. I'm gonna see what that is. That's probably like when I press it, it's grabbing the wrong transform, probably. I mean, it's probably because it's moving it in world space. I think it might be hacking at something when I move it like that. Let's go look at that real quick. Oh. That's not the way to do that. It's probably coming from that. Oh, that's the end. I guess that works okay. I mean, it doesn't have to do it that way. It can do this full transform, but it's just moving the translation, so that's why it's doing that. But the interactive mode is the problem, I think. Oh, that'll do it. Well, is it? So when I grab it, it's doing this, calculating a transform offset, then applying it to the position of the object, and that's the wrong thing to do. It has to be applying it to the transform. It doesn't have to do it this way. Yeah, so it needs to not apply it there, or at least if it's going to do that, it needs to use its position, not the translation. I wonder why I did it this way. That's kind of weird. I guess I didn't do this for the assignments. Like I was like, well, obviously I can't do that. That doesn't make any sense. But I can do this. Well, no, it does this because it stores the transforms on this. Yeah, this is like the original translation when it's first selected. I see. Okay, if it does this, I think it'll work. Kind of gross, but actually, what it needs to do is, sorry, this. Fat fingered this and got screwed up here. That should do it, I think. Yep, fixed. I mean, still feels kind of gross, but it's fixed. Yep, I'll take it. Picked isn't, but you should probably learn what the gizmo to affect selection 0, the parent child will auto update. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's doing. I mean, it is selection 0, and this is selection 0 here. It's only got one element. It's not that it's picking both. It's not that. It's actually what's happening here is that when you're interactively moving it, I'm trying to keep track. I'm trying to keep it as a. I want to keep a final offset, and not actually. So it's what it's doing is saying, well, what's the starting point where the gizmo started? Where's the gizmo's new position? Oh, the gizmo moved from here to here. So it takes this array as a separate array inside the pick system. You know, whenever you add an entity into her, it keeps its original transform when it was selected. And so I want to apply it as an offset instead of an absolute position. It has, because if I do an absolute position, it can't absolutely position all of it. So that's why it's doing it as an offset. To do an offset, I have to keep the original transform. So it gets the original transform when it was first picked, applies the translation to that, and then assigns it back, which this is doing some extra work now because it's coming in here and I guess, yeah, I mean, it's doing this extra work. It's like, well, if it doesn't have a parent, then invert and do this. It's doing some more math, but it's not the end of the world. At least it does it more correctly now. But yeah, so all this should work now. So that's a positive, I think. I was just thinking about things like with this now, it means, and these are just, you know, static objects, so they're going to collide, and not what I want. let's do something stupid now. See what happens. Probably chaos. If I take these two physics objects and attach them to each other, it's probably going to do something crazy. Because their physics objects are going to want to move. Interesting. The transform of one is moving the other, but they both get forces, so they're probably fighting each other at this point. What it's doing is kind of arbitrary. If one gets a force, it'll push it to itself, but they are both, since the transform is updating on one of them, whichever one gets the update first, is probably winning. Like the update meaning in the entity list. I mean, a situation like this, it probably should say, I mean, it's not going to do what you want it to do. And in fact, this is a case where you want to be smarter about your attachments. When you attach one, and it's like, are they both physics objects, or is one a physics object? Then maybe its attachment should be an actual physics attachment, not just a transform. But yeah, it's interesting. Who knows? Visually, it might be doing something very different. Interesting. So I think when a physics is being moved, I think I have it set to like do some kinematic thing whenever that happens. Yeah, so it's not obeying collision anything, I think. Anyways, interesting result out of that, but it worked. Nothing blew up, it's functional. So that's a pretty good result here. I was hoping to get more done. That's a pretty good result. So yeah, it brings up the questions of how should this work in the end? Because obviously we want a more visual way of connecting items. This, anchor button thing feels kind of shitty. I think. I don't like the list of children. That kind of sucks. That said, it is convenient for things. It could be that these are really only used for that this list of children is really only used during editor modes and not during regular gameplay, potentially. I haven't tried the next level of thing, right? Where an entity has an entity that has an entity, which should work now, how this is set up. So yeah, there might be something more to do there. I mean, I think having the children might be helpful for things, even though I don't have to do it that way. Like, we could do it lazily. Because this is only necessary because I'm doing this transform dirty. If I switched it to using the state key like we were talking about, it should totally work and not have this relationship in here, which just complicates things. And then when we want to do something like gather the children of something, we can just make that an explicit operation. Like, it just says, okay, well, I want the children of this entity. It literally goes through the scene and finds them, because the scene is flat. It can do a fast pass through the scene, say, give me all the children of this entity and grab those things. And I guess it could recurse, because you want to get all the children of those entities, and it could be a little bit of work to do that, but it's not the end of the world. It's going through the same flat list several times. And I think that there's some benefit to that, since that kind of operation doesn't happen very often. It's only, if it would happen on like destruction, you know, if you were going to destroy it and destroy all the children, you know. So yeah, I mean, we could potentially do something like that if we needed to. I kind of like the idea of keeping it flat and not making a hierarchy. Just seems like a nicer approach, I think. So yeah, something more to think about there. Let me try the state key path just real quick, because I like the idea of doing it like that. It says transform dirty, transform state key, and a lot of times I'll make this a so I put key in it. Let's just do that. So we do that instead. Get rid of this guy. We keep our it can work either way. We don't need this. We do need something a little different though. Actually, we just want to change the invalidate it. 0 should never be valid. Yeah, then transform dirty, invalidate this. 0 is not valid. That we'll just say 0 is not valid for right now, right? So we're going to take all the transform state, change it to 0. Actually, wait, no, that's not the right way to do it. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I think we want to do it the other way. We'll find out in a minute. So if the transform state it's like if it's usually what you do is something like that, but what we don't want is we don't want every single transform in the entire scene to update just because, even though it didn't move, just because the transform state got incremented. So what we might want to do is something like, is it greater than, potentially, and then force the transform, the invalid state to something else. Let's just do that real quick. Say something like that. This way. There. Might be doing this bad. We'll see. We'll see. I'll make my mistakes. I think this is basically what we want to do. If parent's transform state does not equal what we've saved, then it must have changed. Then update the transform. And that'll be either dirty or not, right? Set. Yeah, it has to set dirty because it's going to recalculate. And you have to do like a. This doesn't handle threads or anything, but see, since it starts at 0, I want to do a pre-increment so it starts at 0. So it always gets a new ID, so every time it changes the ID increments, let's see what I broke in the process. Could be a lot of things broken. I think there's a couple of places that I peek at transform state for stuff. Physics entity. I can do something simple. Yeah, that was the reason it sets the pose if the transform has been dirtied. I'm gonna make that an internal helper. Who cares? I'm kind of doing old style stuff, huh? Now it's kind of shared. Zen579, hello. This might work or it might completely blow up. We'll see. And we're kind of running out of time here. We ran out of time. Let's just finish this up and see. Hopefully I got this right. If I didn't, whatever. See, objects, they're moving. I mean, there's always the wraparound problem, you know, where the transforms being updated like this, you know, that eventually the entities update and get dirty, and it gets to the dirty state and everything's dirty, but it's a one moment thing. There is the problem that, you know, we can't treat the 0 has to not be treated as a special value, but there'll be like a frame where every single one is dirty because we reach the end. At that point, they should all change to 0, and it should increment and keep going. So where is it? Yeah. Where is it? No. It's an update transform. Yeah, and here. So if I set a breakpoint here, like this should be a huge number because it just continues to increment every time it transforms updated. It's kind of like a dirty, unique, dirty, unique flag, basically. So with this, we have no children, no child objects, basically. Gets rid of that array inside of every single one of these guys. It's just more C# or more garbage. Get bigger to make it more apparent. Our attachment is still working. Yep, that worked. So no array of stuff, but it's working. And that's now there. If I shoot this guy and have it go, his light should move around with him. It all looks like it's working. The better dirty flag. So yeah, that totally works. Now I don't have to have an array and everything, which simplifies my C# code, especially for most of the cases when we don't need to do any of this stuff. It's only when we want to access or gather the children that it's going to be a cost, and that should happen pretty infrequently generally. And if we need to, we can accelerate that in a completely different structure that's just there to hold on to parents and children and not in every single entity. So yeah, working. All right, so we did the first part of it. We didn't get to the next part, which is I really wanted to get to, duplicating these in the scenes, but I can do that next. Get a system for, damn it, stuck. Get a system for doing this, or for, I guess the next step is to get the cloning to work right. So I can duplicate this guy like this. That's an important step. Oh, that's true. I guess, it's not being, you're right, it's not being said, I don't think. You're right, it's not being said. I wonder why that works then. That's a good question. No, it is being set. Sorry, it is. Where is it set? It's being set to 0 when it's parented. It's being... no, it isn't being set. You're right. Oh, no, it's comparing it here. But it's always... Okay, I think it's probably saying it's always dirty, and that's why it's working. Because it's constantly saying, oh, it's always dirty. So it's just doing a ton of work. Yeah, like... And the frame rate's probably not going as fast because of that. Let's go fix that real quick. You're correct. That's not where it has to go. It has to go in update transform. And it should go here, essentially, once I get the parents transform. Nope, should get transform state. Right? And our frame rate went up a little bit, looks like. It did. Frames per second, 31. I mean, it's possible that it's hard to notice. Went up a little bit. So yeah, I mean, now it was working just because it was brute force updating it every single frame. Now it's not doing that. Now it's just updating it when the parent actually changes. Which on this is continuous, you know, but, and again, I guess that you wouldn't really notice because this is the only thing that's parented. So it's the only case that has this. So it would be constantly updating it for, you know, for just that one. If I had 50 of these, you'd really notice if they were all updating every frame. All right, so progress. I'm happy with our results there. So next steps here, I think, are to fix the editor to be able to change these things together so that we can parent these guys and duplicate them, which I can do fairly quickly, I think. I just need to have a function for gathering all the children, or when it probably needs to be in my code for duplicating objects, which uses serial. Actually, you know what? I think that's the trick, is that this is where it's going to get us into the serialization problem. I'm pretty sure I use serialization for duplication, if I remember correctly. I have my, is it a feature that create action? I think it's a feature to create action. Yeah, I think that's how it's done. No, maybe it's not. Let's go look in the freaking editor. Not delete. Duplicate. Yep, it serializes it. So this is where the serialization has to do something fancier, right? Like, it has to say, if you're serializing something that has children, you have to include the children. Even though they aren't picked, it needs to force the inclusion of the children. I mean, the other way to do this, because the other way to do this is instead of serializing things as a flat list, you serialize it as a hierarchy, which we could do as well. And that wouldn't hurt anything. It just means that, you know, when we serialize the data format here, instead of it being like this, it would be something like, instead of being like that, it would be like this, and then maybe like that, which is fine for the serialization. The data format is not, I'm not too worried about, you know, but it could be that this is the way we want to do this in order to make this very apparent, the relationship. All this stuff would still work fine. It would be inherent that the parents are like this. It keeps you from potentially inheriting, like for it to work flat, we would have to assign every item a unique ID and assign it, you know, which then if the unique IDs get messed up, like it adds more potential problems with, you know, comparisons and merging. And when you're trying to merge code and seeing differences, it could be harder. This is a very clear relationship, you know, writing them this way than having just links, you know, but in memory, we might keep it flat because that's more convenient for everything else. Potentially. There still might be other reasons, but yeah. So yeah, I think that might be the answer, is that we have to serialize them as children because that's the only way for this to work right. I mean, it could serialize them as individual elements and put them back together, I guess, but maybe it should serialize them all as like this as well. It means that when it goes to duplicate, it's going to take the picked object and, you know, serialize. It has to, and I think it already knows how to do this because I think it's the scene itself. So it's going to come and grab the scene, I think, already from it. I guess it just goes to the entities, but it could at this point say, entity, give me your scene. Okay, because it has, for each entity, it just has to grab the scene from one of them or pass in the scene. And then it says, okay, we'll get all its children and serialize them in here with it and then deserialize them. however it would normally do it. Yeah, I guess it's just a question of, should it be a flat list in the file or not? A flat list is nice for some things, but unique IDs and moving them back and forth, that can be problematic. It could cause issues potentially. So yeah, I'll have to think about that some more and what the best path is. If you have an idea, go into the comments. Tell me what your idea is for how this should work. So yeah, thanks everybody for watching. If you have some ideas, put them in the comments. That always helps. Or you could chat with me live. That's always good. Follow us on Twitch and YouTube. We're trying to grow our followers. I think we just hit a milestone of like 7,000 plus followers on YouTube the other day. So that was awesome. We're still building our Twitch followers. I think we went over 100 the other day. So our Twitch followers are way far behind. We're not as popular on Twitch. We're just starting there as of a couple months ago. So, yep. And then also donate. When you donate to MonoGame, it helps us keep this thing funded and moving forward. It keeps us pushing the framework forward. Like just today, in part of my time working on MonoGame stuff, I was trying to get the Ascent demo here running under Vulkan. It has some issues, which is good. It means that, hey, we can fix those issues. Also bad that it has issues and we have to fix them. It might force us to wait a little bit more before we release the next major update. But, at least we have a good test bed, and those are the things we have to do on a regular basis, and funding helps us be able to do that. So thanks, everybody, and until next time, bye.